Hello, everybody, and welcome to League Bound. I'm your co-host, Branden Blue, and today I'm here with my guys, Jake Schrantz and Cameron King, and we have an exciting episode because today we are doing our first mock draft of the season. It's kind of a fun measuring point to kind of see, how things will look compared to now versus the end of the season. So we generated the mock draft order by putting a lottery generator in the Tankathon, and that's how we got our first round order. It'll be Jake picking first, then me, then Cameron, and then we'll just kind of alternate that same way for the whole format. Jake has the first pick with the Sacramento Kings. I think I know who Jake is going to take, but what are you going to do here?
There's so many good players at the top, and we saw Darryn Peterson make his return today. We're recording this on Sunday, December 7th. Had a pretty nice showcase in his return after missing almost, I think it was a full month of the college basketball season. Played pretty well against Missouri. But I feel like at this point today, personally for me, and with it being the Kings drafting at number 1, they need to find a player that's going to lead to winning. And I personally believe that Cameron Boozer, from what we've seen in the first month, is that guy. He's got this Duke team beating multiple ranked teams. I think 4 top 25 wins in the first month of the season, and he has been really, really good, especially against some of these, top teams that they've been playing. Michigan State, he had a nice showcase in the second half. Big game against Florida, huge game on Thanksgiving against Arkansas, and at this point, he's my number 1 pick.
Yeah, I think that's a fair pick. I mean, he's averaging 24 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. He's probably the best processor and passer of those guys. I think we all would take, of the top 3, would take probably somebody different because we all like one of the 3 guys more. But for me, it's not so much of an issue where, like, if one of them gets picked, I'm like upset with it because they're all just that good. And I think they all have upside in their own way.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you, Branden. Like, I'm not mad at any one of the 3 at the top going number 1. They all are like really, really good players and are kind of close for me at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see what like the Kings would do if they got that pick, just because they do have like a lot of everything, but kind of none of everything at the same time. Like, they have a lot of players at each position, but nobody necessarily would stop me from picking whichever one of the top 3 players I thought was the best. So I'm perfectly fine with Cameron Boozer at 1.
Now I am up with the second pick for the Brooklyn Nets, and for me, I think I'm going to go Darryn Peterson. With him sitting out, I feel like there's been a lot of overreaction, if I'm being honest, just in terms of the situation. And I think, in my opinion, I think they're just managing the injury. It's not ideal, but I'd rather this be happening now than later in the season. I know he has a much smaller sample size than some of these other guys at the top, but counting his exhibition game against Louisville, I still think there's been some promise. I'm confident that by the time conference play rolls around, if he is still healthy, he can kind of ramp things back up and show why he's in the talks to go number 1. I mean, even in that game against North Carolina, he was getting guarded in such a unique way, but he was still able to come out there and have a light 20 points. And I think there's also a lot more that he just hasn't really been able to show because he's been hurt. And I think once he does get to the NBA, I think he'll have no problem adjusting just because he's so skilled. So I think I'm going to go Darryn Peterson for number 2.
Yeah, he definitely fits like kind of that mold of players that the Nets drafted last year, where they drafted like a bunch of like really high field guys. And I think Peterson has a pretty good feel. I'm ready to see kind of what we all know he can do from his high school tape. Like, I do want to see it at the college level, like fully realized. I know he's been hurt, so he hasn't had the chance to really do that, but it'll be interesting because he has like less experience than the other freshmen in his class, like just for like games played. And going into conference play, the Big 12 looks to be like a real monster this year. So it'll be interesting to see how he starts off Big 12 play. That's something I'll be watching pretty closely.
Okay, Cameron, you are up. And I just have to say, this is crazy that the Thunder might have the 3rd pick in the draft this year. And mind you, this is just in the mock draft we simulated. This is one of, I believe, 4 or maybe even 5 first-round picks that they could potentially have. So, anyways, Cameron, you are up with the 3rd pick drafting for the reigning champs and a team that is on pace to win 70 games this year.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane that they have this pick. Like, this should not happen. And just like draft Twitter would like kind of melt down. Like a lot of like maybe people don't follow it that closely, but like everybody who posts the AJ Dybantsa memes after each game, like the Thunder being the one to get him would just be hilarious. I think he just fits kind of what they do a little bit. He needs to take some strides on defense. That's why I almost went Wilson here. I do still think there's like a gap though. I have Dybantsa as like my number one player. I think there's a gap between those top three and the next guys. So I'm going to take Dybantsa here. He can one day fit on defense. He gives them like another score. Guy who can get downhill. He's long, tall for his position. And he's starting to show like some real passing promise. Like he's not by any means, like he's not Cam Boozer as a passer, but there's been a couple times where like you can just see the growth from where he was in the preseason to where he was in like their game against Dayton with how he handles double teams and getting skip passes through. So I think he's someone that is like just extremely talented, and I would hate to see him go here just as a fan of a team in the Western Conference. So
next up, we have the 4th pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards. Jake, who are you going to take?
Yeah, I feel like at this range, I know the Wizards are a team that look like they've got some pretty promising upcoming talent. You look at Keyshawn George, what he's been able to do. I picked him up as a free agent in our fantasy basketball league, and he's been, I think, top 12 or top 10 for most of the season at his position. So he's clearly a piece that they are going to look to build around. They've got other young pieces like Alex Sarr, even Bob Carrington, if you want to look that deep into the young roster for them. But I feel like this is still a part of the draft where you're taking best player available. And to me, that's Caleb Wilson. I think Caleb Wilson, overall, his ceiling and his impact at the NBA level could be top 3 in this draft. I mean, yeah, maybe his talent at this point is slightly less than an AJ Dybantsa because of the perimeter play, or a Cameron Boozer just because of the size and the offensive upside. But Caleb Wilson is by far the best defender in this draft. He's got by far the best motor in this draft, and I feel like adding him to a front court alongside Alex Sarr would be nasty. So Washington picking up Caleb Wilson at 4 would be huge.
Yeah, and I think Caleb Wilson, he was a guy who I felt pretty high on coming into the year, but I wasn't for sure that he was going to look how he has up to this point. And I think he's just kind of solidified that he's just an athletic freak. And I think he is getting very close to that top 3 range. And I think now even some scouts are kind of viewing it as maybe it's not necessarily just a top 3 now, but it could be like this top 4 is just different. I don't know if everybody feels that way, but that's some things that I've read from insiders. So yeah, Caleb Wilson, he's had a really good start to the year. I just hope that it continues in the conference play and that, he keeps showing off some of his prowess. He's had some issues finishing at the rim, but at the same time, I think he's also the type of player where at the next level, I feel like he could fix those issues. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Right now, he's just been balling.
Yeah, the layup numbers are a little weird, but also it's like not asking something because he just dunks everything. So it's like the volume isn't crazy. So it's not like he's like missing a ton of layups. He's just opting to dunk the ball a lot. So he's someone that like he's just been like he plays with incredible motor. He's been incredible to start the season. I think anywhere he goes, he'll be successful just because he's one of those pieces that like every team needs somebody that can defend the level he does and bring the type of energy that he does.
I am picking with the fifth pick for the Atlanta Hawks. Now, let's just say they're kind of having their own thing going on right now without Trae Young. But I still think guard play is really valuable, and depending on what does happen with Trae Young, I still think you kind of want the best player available at this point. But it's a toss-up now because there's somebody who has kind of risen up over the course of this season. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. I don't want to pull the trigger yet. I still feel really good about Mikel Brown Jr., so I think I'm going to take him for the Hawks here. I know the shot hasn't looked great, but I still believe in it. It's still early, so I'm not like fully questioning his ability as a shot maker. And even on his misses, the shots, they just look good. But outside of that, one question I had was just what is he going to look like when that jumper isn't falling? And I feel like he's still been pretty valuable In spite of that, like, he gets to the paint really well. You know, he facilitates, makes the right play a lot of the time. And he's also just been an explosive dunker. Like, I feel like every game I've watched him, or at least these last 2 games that we've seen, I know he struggled a little bit against Indiana, but he had a explosive play there, and then he caught Trevin Brazil against Arkansas. Like, I think he really has the tools and the skills, and I know Kingston Flemings has been balling, but I'm still going to take Mikel Brown here.
Yeah, that's something that I'll be interested to track through the whole season, because them two, like, seem like they're closer than what I thought. Like, Kingston Flemings is shown to be really, really good, and he's somebody who's, like, shot up my draft board. But as far as Mikel Brown, something that surprised me this far in the season is, like, I knew he could pass. I didn't know he was necessarily this good of a passer. Like, he gets passes out really quick, sprays the shooters really well, and he just seems to have, like, really good vision. And if that shooting ability does come around, it'll just be hard to take other guards in front of him.
All right, Cameron, you are up for the Indiana Pacers with the 6th pick.
This might be a little bit of a reach, but I think he really fits a lot of what the Pacers do. And I think if he continues to, like, produce at the level he is, I think I could see him going this high. I'm going to go with Cameron Carr from Baylor here.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I've kind of seen him all over the place, so this isn't the most shocking thing, but I mean, he's been an absolute scorer. That's all I can say. I mean, the shot making ability, I've watched some of his games in full for the first time this week, and the shot making is real, and, like, he can also move without the ball pretty well. He's athletic. I mean, he has the desirables that you would want at the NBA level.
And also he's a part of, like, this club of guys that, like, have, like, a really high hit rate so far, of, like, guys like around 6'5", 6'6", but, like, have a really long wingspan. Like, I forget what exactly the number is, but it's like guys with, like, 7'2" wingspans or above. I think he's somebody who might come in around that size. His ability to get to the line is also, like, really impressive to me. And I think it's something that will be able to translate just because of the way he does it. So he's someone who shot up my board early.
Yeah, that's something I kind of noticed a little bit too in the 3 games I watched recently. But one thing is, he is kind of a little bit skinnier, but to him, like, compared to somebody who I'm sure will probably come up later, with him, it doesn't seem like there's an issue of, like, he can't handle the physicality. Like, it feels like he has the body control to be able to still make plays and handle it. And like you said, the skill that he has, the shot making ability, he's got a long wingspan. I mean, I feel pretty confident that he can carve out a role in this first round somewhere. For me, I think I'm just kind of why I don't necessarily have him this high, but I can see why Cameron does. But I think for me, I kind of just want to see what it looks like more throughout the season, because I don't really know what I feel like his ceiling is going to be. Like, I don't have a good or bad opinion about it. I just genuinely don't know yet. But I think this pick makes sense here. Now with the 7th pick, we have Jake picking for the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, this one's kind of interesting because I don't think anyone was really expecting Con Knipple to be this impactful in his rookie season. He's had, I mean, literally, he was a front runner for Rookie of the Year for a while before Cooper Flagg has kind of gotten on this hot streak, and he's still probably top 2 or 3 for Rookie of the Year at this point. So you almost wonder what the vision for Charlotte's going to be moving forward. Are they going to kind of shift off this idea of building around LaMelo, and are they going to try to move him and maybe focus on building around Con and some of these other players? I mean, Ryan Kalkbrenner has been solid as well up in the front court. So I think at this point, I really like Labaron Philon. I wish I could get him in the draft this high, but I don't think they really need that at this point. I think filling in next to Ryan Kalkbrenner up in the front court with Nate Ament is a really good option. He's going to bring perimeter shooting, some potential high volume scoring. He's had some really big games for Tennessee in the early season, and I like the idea of Ament, who isn't really known as a defender as much, pairing up with Ryan Kalkbrenner, who can be an elite rim protector at times. So Nate Ament going to Charlotte, and we're seeing if that can turn out with some offense.
Where do you guys have Nate Ament on your board currently?
I kind of dropped him recently a little bit. I didn't drop him like out of the top 10 necessarily, but I feel like the physicality has been kind of an issue, and like just in terms of his efficiency. Like I still think that once he gets to the league, like I feel like there are a lot of people who are completely out on him now, which I can understand, but I think a lot of it, the issue is just he needs to mature physically. And I think once he does get to the league, like it'll probably take some time, but I think he'll have the opportunity to do that. But I don't have him like near this top 4 to 5 that we had maybe in the beginning of the season.
I still have some high hopes for Nate Ament because I think I saw a story in one of his games where even just in the offseason going into college, he had put on, I think, 10 to 15 pounds of extra weight to get strong for the D1 level. And he's still got a ways to go, but I feel like the fact that he's already committed himself to doing that and hasn't just rested on his laurels and not really even tried to get stronger and get bigger for the SEC, that shows to me that he's willing to put in the work off the court to become a better player. And I think if he adds on, maybe 10 more pounds, he'll be able to at least handle himself, maybe not as much on the defensive end, but definitely on the offense, where he's not just going to get pushed around as much as we've seen.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the camp of people who've dropped him a little bit. I still haven't, I'm not out on him by any means yet, just because, like you said, Jake, I think as he continues to develop his frame, he's going to only get better. And I think he's already he's at an okay place to start. Like, the finishing is concerning. The lack of being able to hold his line on drives is not great. And also the shooting is, oddly not as good as I thought it would be so far. But he's still productive. He's still putting up solid numbers. Counting wise, he's really adept at drawing fouls. So he's someone I have around this range, but I will say he has dropped from maybe my 5th or 6th guy to start the year to now he's somewhere 9 to 13 for me.
Okay. Now I am up picking for the Dallas Mavericks, and this is kind of an interesting pick because that whole experience hasn't been going well. Shout out to Nico Harrison, man. Hope you're doing well. But now they have the opportunity to maybe get a piece for the future to pair alongside Cooper Flagg. So yeah, I think after some quick deliberation here, I'm going to go ahead and take Kingston Flemings for the Dallas Mavericks. He's somebody who, like we mentioned before, has kind of risen up the boards, but he's always been kind of a good player. I think just with the Houston, the class that they had coming in, it was kind of a matter of who's going to start, who's going to play where. And he's been important for the Cougars, to say the least. And I think he's got great bursts. He's shooting the ball really well right now. It'll probably drop off a little bit as the season goes on, but he just looks like a playmaker. I was really hesitant to put him over my guy Labaron Philon, but I think after these, just the start he's had this first few weeks of the season, I think it was okay to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and pair him with the Dallas Mavericks, because as we've seen, they kind of need, I know Ryan Nembhard has been getting some more minutes as well for the Mavericks, but they kind of need some point guard play for the long term to pair alongside Cooper Flagg, and I think this would be a good fit for the Mavericks.
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of Kingston Flemings. He has he reminds me of Maxey in a lot of ways, just in how quick his first step actually is. He gets downhill really, really fast. And he can finish it really well. And this year he's shooting the cover off the ball. I think it's 50-something% from 3 so far this year. Which, if that holds, I think there is going to be some, like we said earlier, there's going to be some interesting conversations. If the shooting percentages hold, which it's hard to believe they will just because that's such an obscenely high number. But if they hold, him versus Mikel becomes a real conversation for me. Because also something else that works in Fleming's favor is that he's not this small guard either. His frame is a little smaller, a little narrower, I would say, but he's 6'4", it looks like, like 6'3", 6'4". So he's not like one of these like tiny guards. So at that height, with that speed, with this shooting ability, it's going to be really hard for teams to pass on him in the draft.
Okay, so now we have the number 9 pick. Oklahoma City Thunder have the 9th pick in the draft, people. Cameron, who will you be picking for them to pair alongside AJ Dybantsa?
It's ridiculous that they have this pick. To be honest, I don't know if they would like actually pick in this range. Like, I think I could see something more viable as them like packaging up a few of these and like moving up to get another guy they wanted, or like possibly moving back. It's hard because there's a lot of good players here, and there's like a few places I'm like thinking about going here. Like, part of me really wants to take an upside swing and go with Chris Nack. Ultimately, I don't think I'm going to go with any of those guys. I think I'm going to go with Braylon Mullins here. I think he's going to provide like an interesting shooting thing for them. I think he also is like shockingly athletic, like not just because he's white either. Like, he like somebody who can shoot as well as he does, rarely as athletic as he is. And he's like actually really solid on defense. So I think he's somebody that fits a lot of what they do. And with guys like Isaiah Joe potentially coming up in the future, like I think he fits kind of that come in, instant offense, provide shooting that they kind of don't have at times. So I'm going to go Braylon Mullins here.
In this hypothetical draft, if they did actually make that pick, I actually really like that for a number of reasons. Because I think the Thunder, as good as they are, and obviously they have Shea, J-Dub, Chet, but I feel like they don't really have a sharp shooter in their offense. And for Mullins, you know, he'd probably have to work through a gauntlet of guys on the roster. But if he were able to break that rotation, he would provide sharpshooting, which is something I don't think that they really have. And I'd be interested to see how much that would open them up if he were to go there. And he's unique because he's not just a standstill shooter, obviously. Like, he can really move off the ball, and like he's going to have so many other guys creating gravity for him. Like, I feel like this would kind of be the perfect situation for a player like him. So I really like this pick. Next up, with the 10th pick in the draft, we have the Portland Trail Blazers. Jake, who are you going to take?
So at this point, my 2 favorite players to watch in college basketball this year are still on the board, Labaron, Philon, and Koa Peat. But unfortunately for my guy Koa Peat, I just don't really think this is the team for him with how elite Denny Avdia has played this year. Multiple 20-point games. He's getting rebounds. He's getting assists. I just don't think he fits into that front court that they're looking to do. And I think at this point, we haven't really seen much from Scoot Henderson. So I think you take a shot on Labaron Philon, see if he can come in. I know they'll have Dame back hopefully next season. Maybe he could, get some game from Dame Lillard and, take that jump to the next level. Is he our first non-freshman being drafted here?
We did have
I
Cameron
believe.
Carr.
Yeah, we had Cameron Carr.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's crazy that, it's this many freshmen going at the top, but Labaron Philon has just been so elite that he has to go this high for my opinion.
Yeah, and I know we drafted all those other guards before him, but like he's having a monster season, and once he's looked like a real shooter this year. I think he's answered a lot of the questions that he had the first year, and he's looked really comfortable as the lead guy. And when he gets to the NBA, I think he does have the speed and the driving ability to still be really impactful. So I think really just this whole guard class, like we haven't even taken everybody, but there's so many good options that could go even potentially in this top 10.
Yeah, I think the guards are really good here. He can really get to a bucket, and he's like seems to taking a step as a passer. The turnovers, I would like to see him rein in just a little bit. Like if he can rein in the turnovers, I feel like then it's like almost like a 3-headed conversation for the best guard in the class. I think he kind of just loses that because he's the oldest of the bunch, but he's like somebody I think is going to come into the NBA and make like an immediate impact. I think he'll immediately kind of be good. And I don't think he'll have like a steeper learning curve as the other 2 guards in the class. So I think, especially in this range, I could see a lot of teams like jumping and take.
I think for the Chicago Bulls, I'm going to go ahead and draft Jayden Quaintance. The Bulls, they have a lot of talent right now. Now, how much of that is going to be on the team long term, I'm not really sure, but they're in an interesting spot because they're playing a decent brand of basketball. They've fallen off a little bit here recently, but I think they've got some real players who could maybe beat something. And Modest Buzelis, we'll see how good he turns out being. But I think here I'm going to go Jayden Quaintance. I think he has the potential to be a really good defensive big, but the big question is he has a torn ACL and he has yet to play yet. But I feel like if he doesn't get drafted here, then I feel like he's just going to fall really, really low. And I don't know if he's warranted that yet. So I think for the Bulls, I'm going to go ahead and get Quaintance off the board.
Yeah, the no like specific timeline for when he'll be back thing is a little scary, just because like I don't know how long I can keep him in this range without him actually playing, especially because like so much of his game is going to be athleticism based. Like when we see him at Arizona State, he was a freak athlete who like a little Bam Adebayo, like he can cover like a lot of different positions. He can move really well, kind of Rob Williams a little bit in that frame as well. So it's just like with guys like that, I never like these type of injuries. Like they always kind of scare me. You don't want them to keep having them. But he's someone that if he is healthy and if he comes back and shows that he can like hasn't changed as an athlete, I think he's someone that like is gonna go really high just because of how versatile he is on defense.
Okay, Cameron, you were picking for the Milwaukee Bucks, who have the 12th pick. They got a lot of potential drama going on with Giannis, his injury. Maybe his last game as a Buck. We'll see if that's true. But how are they going to potentially move forward without Giannis?
They have so many like places they can go or need to go. But I think here I'm just going to go with Koa Peat just because I think he's really talented. I would like to see him at least try to step out and shoot it a little bit. But he's like, at the very least, he's been effective. And he's had really big games against the best competition. He's already coming into the league, probably the most NBA ready rookie body wise. Like he's really physical. He is built like he's playing the wrong sport. Like he should be like a lineman in football or something. Like he's really, really mature. So that's what I'm going to go with for the Bucks. I think regardless if Giannis is there, if he isn't, I think he's somebody that is just going to immediately step in and just make their team better.
Yeah, and I got to give Koa Peat props because this year, I think when we did our big board special, I had him considerably low, I feel like, because I just didn't know what he was going to look like at Arizona. But no, he's been major. And I think similarly, how you kind of talked about, Cameron, how you talked about you didn't know the passing was so good for Mikel Brown. That's kind of how I feel about Koa Peat in some sense. Like, he has the athleticism, but I feel like he also has really good feel to just be a valuable player when he's on the floor. And, you know, he's played a good bit of winning basketball himself. So, and, you know, just admittedly watching him in interviews, he seems like he's about the right stuff. And I think when he gets to the NBA, he can carve out a major role for himself. I'm honestly surprised we didn't take him in the top 10, but I think some of the concerns he has are still real, but I'm kind of the mindset of the stuff that he's good at is also very real. So, yeah, Koa Peat, I think
I think it's fair to say if we were seeing Koa Peat even make 1 3-pointer per game, I feel like he'd be a lock for probably the top 7. I think that's pretty much his only weakness at this point. We see the physicality, we see the rebounding, the defense, the finishing. It's just, can he stretch that mid-range touch out to maybe the 3-point line? And that's going to come with coaching, development, and like you said, Brandon, he seems like he's got, you know, his stuff figured out mentally. And so if the right coach can kind of tap into that potential, Koa Peat could be a guy that's, you know, later lottery, but potentially finish as a top 5 or even top 4 rookie from this class.
Okay. Jake, you are next up picking for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Memphis Grizzlies at this point. I think it's an interesting team because John Morant what's the future there? There have been, outside noise of Memphis potentially moving on from him. So I think with how good we've seen Darius Acuff be this season, I would not be surprised because they don't need a big. Zach Edey has already shown that when he's healthy, he can put up some huge numbers, which is something I was not expecting at the NBA level. But he's proved me wrong for sure. So obviously Chris Sinak, who's still on the board, kind of stands out. But I'm looking at a guard here, and I think Darius Acuff is by far the best one left.
So next up, I will be taking the San Antonio Spurs with the 14th pick into the lottery here. I think for me, they could have some major turnover at the end of the season, but we don't know that for sure. But I think for me, I'm going to try and maybe get another front court mate with Victor Wembanyama. I might go Chris Sinek. Yeah, I know, like we talked about, he still has kind of his... he hasn't been consistent, I guess, but I still feel... And obviously on the defensive side, I think there's still been some question marks too, but I feel like he can be a good fit here. If not him, I'd probably go one of the older forwards, but Sinek, I think it's just... If you have the idea of him kind of being a post threat alongside the 7-foot freak that Wemby is, to me, I think that's really appealing. And they have already got a lot of long defenders, and Dylan Harper, I think, is their guard for the future, the way it stands, and he's really good at getting to the paint. And Sinak, he has his own skill set that he can kind of provide, and I think he would thrive alongside another post threat in Wemby, or whatever you want to call him. He stretches the floor. He does a little bit of everything. So I'll take Sinak here.
Or just something here quickly on Sinak. He hasn't this hasn't come all together for him yet. He's still it's been up and down at times. However, something that's really impressed me is how he's kind of bought into what Houston does and what they teach, and how aggressive he's been going after rebounds. It's something that was kind of a knock on him coming into the year. His motor wasn't really good, but in the few games I've seen from him, he's definitely made a concerted effort to step his motor up on the glass at least. Still would like to see him give a few more efforts on the defensive end. Sometimes it looks like he maxes out at 1 or 2 efforts on a possession. So would like to see that improve, but he's really good at getting rebounds, and he can shoot it. And at his size, I just feel there's a ton of potential there, and I think it's going to be hard for him to slide too far, just because of the skills he does have at the size he has. It's just impressive.
With the conclusion of the lottery, here is our full first round that we did in our mock. We didn't want to show everything because we figured the video would be too long, but we still wanted to give you guys our picks for this first round. If you guys enjoyed the video and made it this far, remember to comment, like, and subscribe to our channel, and we'll keep the draft content coming as the season continues.